Hello world and all who inhabit it, my name is Jessica, my pronouns are she, her, and I'd like to talk to you about this deck. I'd like to talk to you about how this deck got me eliminated in the first round of a tournament, and why that's probably a good thing. For first-time viewers, I will briefly explain Junior Journey and then I'll do a card-by-card deck profile. If you're a repeat viewer or just want to skip to the duels, check the timeline and you will find the timestamp you're looking for. And before you leave, consider leaving a like and pressing subscribe if you like my Yu-Gi-Oh! Content or want to brighten my day. So, we are playing by Junior Journey rules. The Junior Journey format is an alternate Yu-Gi-Oh! Format based on the YouTube series Junior Journey created by MBT and RJ. The Junior format rules are as follows. High-level monsters don't require tributes, so regular Yu-Gi-Oh! You need to sacrifice a monster to summon Skull. In Junior format, you can just summon it right from your hand. 1 spell activation per turn, 1 trap activation per turn, 1 set spell or trap card per turn, and quick play spells do not exist. Quick play spell cards in the game are treated as normal spells. There's other stuff, but hopefully you'll pick up more along the way. And if you're still confused or interested in participating in the Junior Journey format, there's a link in the description to a Junior Journey helper created by Discord user Lyric. It's incredibly useful. Everyone in the Discord refers to it on a regular basis. For this tournament, we are allowed to use every card released until 2004, with the following ban list exceptions. The following cards were banned for this tournament: Blackluster Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning; Chaos Emperor Dragon, Envoy of the End; Cyber Jar; Dark Dust Spirit; Dark Magician of Chaos; Guardian Sphinx; Hino Kagusuchi; Magical Scientist; Morphing Jar number 2; The Creator; Yamada Dragon; Yatagarasu; Card of Safe Return; Graceful Charity; Harpy's Feather Duster; Metamorphosis; Painful Choice; Pot of Greed; Raigeki; Snatch Steal; Sword of Revealing Light; Anti-Spell Fragrance; Imperial Order; Magic Cylinder; Ring of Destruction; Skill Drain; Ultimate Offering. The following cards were limited to 1 copy per deck: Barrel Dragon; Blowback Dragon; Jinzo; Sinister Serpent; Spear Cretin; Witch of the Black Forest; Cold Wave; Dark Hole; Giant Trunade; Heavy Storm; Level Limit Area B; Solemn Judgement; Call of the Haunted; Dust Tornado; Mirror Force; Torrential Tribute. The following cards were limited to 2 copies: Chaos Sorcerer. So that is the rules of the format that we are playing in this tournament. So what deck did I bring? This deck! I've already shown it to y'all once, so this is not a surprise reveal, but this deck! Quick word about why I'm in this format. Whenever I was watching one episode of Junior Journey that convinced me to join the Discord, it involved RJ looking directly at the camera and being like, I want you to join our Discord and break our format. That's not exactly what they said, but it is exactly what they said. So I have taken that responsibility very seriously since I joined the Discord. I will make decks that are not smart and not interesting because I think they are the strongest in the format as a personal service to the Junior Journey series to break the format to show which cards need to be banned. So, this is another instance where I am basically trying to do that, coming in with the most harebrained strategy possible, with the simplest combination of cards possible. This time, I do not get away with it. This time around, I am eliminated in the very first round of the tournament, which I think probably says better things about this format's general health and flexibility than like about other formats that we have done tournaments in previously. I'm specifically thinking of Coin Flip Dragon format. So this is a dumbass deck and it didn't do a whole lot, but let's do the card by card to show you what I was going for. Armed Dragon level 5 and Chaos Sorcerer are very similar in their functions in this deck. They are not as strong in terms of attack and defense as the other monsters in the lineup, but they each have effects that let them destroy monsters on my opponent's side of the field. Armed Dragon, you discard a monster and then destroy an opponent's monster that has less attack than the discarded monster, which is why most of the stuff in this deck is very big. And then Chaos Sorcerer lets you banish an opponent's monster. You need a light and a dark to summon it, which is why all the beefy monsters are lights and darks. In terms of the monster lineup, we got 3 copies of Blue Eyes White Dragon. I really thought that this horrible, awful, nightmarish Seto Kaiba artwork would give me the edge in this tournament, but I guess not. 3 copies of Despair from the Dark, 3K Booty, Anti-Delinquent Duo, still rules. 3 copies of Invader of the Darkness, effect is still useless, we're just using the 2900 attack. Cosmo Queen, it's just an Invader of Darkness with 50 less defense. We have 3 copies of Moisture Creature. There is a 0% chance of that effect ever being relevant. You will draw your Heavy Storm or your Giant Trunade before you resolve Moisture Creature. We have 1 copy of Barrel Dragon, 1 copy of Blowback Dragon, continuing to see play even after being limited, and their darks, which I thought would be nice for this deck. And rounding it out, we have 3 copies of Guardian Angel Joan. For spells, we have 1 Dark Hole, 1 Heavy Storm, respective board wipe cards, 1 copy of Cold Wave to shut your opponent down completely and set up for OTKs, 2 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon, 2 copies of Nobleman of Crossout to deplete your opponent of resources, 2 copies of Monster Reborn to bring back your own monsters or steal your opponent's beefy monsters, 1 copy of Smashing Ground, and then we had 1 copy of Solemn Judgement. Maybe I should have been maining more copies of this. We were talking about how fucking crazy it is that Solemn Judgement is at 3 copies in this format, but I kept finding that drawing 2 Solemn Judgments before you draw any other trap cards is so bad in this format because everybody has the ability to get huge life point swings all at once. So I'm only main decking 1 Solemn, but the other 2 are in the side deck. Dust Tornado still rules, Mirror Force still rules, Torrential Tribute still rules. Blast with Chain, maybe I should have mained more copies of this, especially in a format with Heavy Storm, but I don't know. It doesn't really guarantee an opponent's card. 1 copy of Raigeki Break, 1 copy of Bottomless Trap, 2 copies of Bottomless Trap Hole to round out the 41 card list. And you'll notice, looking at this deck, that we're not playing Thunder Dragon. We were so thoroughly scarred by that last tournament that we didn't even want to try it. Side deck, we've got a 3rd copy of Nobleman of Crossout for really defense position heavy monsters. 1 copy of Giant Trunade. I am split with the Discord on this one. The Discord says that Giant Trunade is better than Heavy Storm. I disagree. Giant Trunade also sets you back a couple of turns, and it gives your opponents back their hand. So if you don't get the opportunity to beat them that turn, it's not as good of an option as Heavy Storm, in my opinion. We have the 3rd copy of Mystical Space Typhoon, 2 more copies of Solemn Judgement, 1 more copy of Raigeki Break, 3 Gogi Gaga Gigo. And the idea with this is if I was playing the tournament and finding that Armed Dragon, Chaos Sorcerer just weren't cutting it, I could side all 3 Armed Dragon out for Gogiga, and then side out the Chaos Sorcerers for some of the other monster lineup, which includes Tribe Infecting Virus, 2 copies of the End of Anubis to deal with small monsters that your opponent wants to trigger in the graveyard. We have Jinzo, of course, and Bizar Shock. I don't think Bizar Shock was good at this point anymore. I think this was a mistake. And then we have 1 copy of Breaker the Magical Warrior, just in case we're facing a really stall-heavy deck and we just want some additional spell trap removal. So, this is the deck. Let's see what my downfall was. Alright, for this tournament, I play a match against Virtual Damage. He starts off by setting a Kaiser Glider in face-down defense position. I immediately noble it and just get in for 2900 with Invader of Darkness. Nothing super complicated happening so far. For his second turn, Virtual does have the Sangha of the Thunder and sets a Call of the Haunted, anticipating the Sangha of the Thunder probably being destroyed. Unfortunately, I actually go for the Heavy Storm first to take out Call of the Haunted, summon Guardian Angel Joan, attack with Invader of Darkness, which triggers Sanga's effect and causes me to lose Invader of Darkness, but Sanga's effect only goes off once, so now that it's spent, I'm able to attack in with Angel St. Joan, destroy the monster, and gain the life points back that I lost from that interaction. My opponent sets a Solemn Judgement. They're not working with a terribly fantastic set of cards to choose from right now. Return from a different dimension at least will summon Kaiser Glider, but that's only enough to put up a defense rather than an offense. Unfortunately, Virtual draws a Nobleman of Extermination when he really just needed a monster of some kind. I don't bother at summoning a monster here. It didn't matter because at this point, Virtual has a little bit of lag, but then he concedes the game because he doesn't have any monsters or any options. Alrighty, game 2. I have won the first one, and I'm feeling pretty good about my strategy so far. Opponent starts with Magical Merchant face down and Change of Heart face down. Looks like Virtual drew into 2. I start off with Invader of Darkness to attack into the Magical Merchant, which triggers... I don't think I saw any flip effect monsters in the first game, which is a shame because then I could have boarded into a couple copies of End of Anubis. But my opponent does resolve Magical Merchant and get a Dark Hole in their hand. So I set Bottomless Trap Hole, but the card my opponent drew for turn was Jinzo. I don't think they summoned that first. Oh, no, yeah, they do. They immediately summoned the Jinzo, and my Bottomless cannot activate here. So Virtual gets 24 damage in. I summon Invader of Darkness. Once again, this card has just been glued to my hand these last couple tournaments, although I guess I have been running 3 copies, so that makes a certain amount of sense. I'm able to take out Jinzo, which frees up my Bottomless Trap Hole. So Virtual activates Change of Heart, steals my Invader of Darkness. With Sangha, would have had enough to get game here, but I do have a Bottomless for the Sangha, so it is not over yet. Virtual gets in with a considerable amount of damage, though, leaving me 1 attack away from defeat. End of the turn, Invader of Darkness comes back to my field, Change of Heart expires. I draw the 3rd Invader of Darkness. I attack with my existing Invader of Darkness. I choose to set Despair from the Dark so that I have a 3k booty to insulate myself a little bit. But unfortunately, my opponent's able to summon Freed the Brave Warrior, banish 2 light monsters to pop my Invader of Darkness, and Change of Heart my Despair from the Dark, and now my board is completely clear for Virtual to come in and sweep up game 2. Now we each have 1 game apiece. And I start off by drawing 2 Invader of Darkness. It's fine, it's fine. It's a pretty good monster. The problem that I'm gonna run into pretty quickly, though, is that I drew 2 Invader of Darkness. Virtual drew 2 Blue Eyes White Dragon. I opt not to attack into it. I just set Moisture Creature in face-down defense mode, which turns out to be enough to block any of my opponent's attacks from coming through, as Kaiser Glider cannot get past Moisture Creature because my opponent decided to go with a Jinzo rather than a Blue Eyes White Dragon for now. For turn, I draw Guardian Angel Joan. I summon Guardian Angel Joan to the field, switch Moisture Creature to attack mode with the logic that it's better to clear my opponent's field even if one of my cards is going to get bounced in order to gain some life points. So Moisture Creature attacks into Jinzo, and I'm a little nervous about this because if that face down card was Mirror Force, then destroying Jinzo first would have allowed it to be activated, but in this case it's nothing relevant and I'm able to leave the field the way that I had hoped to leave it. My opponent has a light in the and a dark in the graveyard for Chaos Sorcerer. Virtual decides to go for it, and also summons a Blue Eyes White Dragon. Honestly, I should have attempted to Solemn Judgement this Blue Eyes White Dragon. It felt early to activate it, but I had all of those life points, and if I had activated Solemn Judgement, I would have triggered my opponent's Solemn Judgement. However, that still would have broken pretty well for me because of this moment right here. I activate Monster Reborn. My opponent has the Solemn Judgement. I probably should have used my Solemn Judgement to get it anyway, just to attack in with Guardian Angel Joan, get the Chaos Sorcerer off the field and get some damage in, and then have a defense position monster out. My opponent grabs Freed the Brave Wanderer, which is a really fucking cool card in this tournament in particular. It is a staple of the second place finisher, and one of the strongest non-bongus-like monsters we have seen in Junior Journey so far. So here I summon Invader of Darkness, finally take out the Chaos Sorcerer, and I've drawn a second Solemn Judgement, but I never got a chance to use the first one, so now my field is just kind of clogged up with trap cards. And still, I don't have anything to destroy the Blue Eyes White Dragon. What's hilarious about this build is I probably would have been better off if I swapped out the Moisture creatures for Sphinx Talea. I figured that it wouldn't be good enough for this tournament because it has a summoning sickness, but in reality, the 3k booty was probably more important than I anticipated. Here my opponent summons Guardian Angel Joan, and I make my final mistake of the duel. I activate Bottomless Trap Hole to banish it, which means I don't have any trap cards to activate when Virtual plays Return from the Different Dimension, which allows him to summon every single one of his banished monsters. My face down card is just an Invader of Darkness. Again, if this was something with a 3k booty, I still could have lived this turn. I actually would probably be in a really good situation in that case. But it's Invader of Darkness. Blue Eyes gets over it, all the other monsters attack directly, and that's it.